Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome to Synth Stuff. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 holiday gifts for synth nerds under $250 2024. Coming up. All right, a little bit of a disclaimer here. It's going to be more than 10 because I couldn't whittle the list down to 10. I think I ended up with 12, but close enough. And there was one or two that was 260 rather than 250. So, but again, close enough. One of the problems that us as synthesists have in the holiday season is our significant others trying to come up with an idea for what it is that we want for Christmas. Now, if you can convince your significant other that you need a Montage M for Christmas, then hey, all the power to you. But for the most part, they're looking for something a little less expensive. And that's why I decided this year I was going to do a list that was under $250. Like I said, I did bump up above on a couple of them, another to 260. But it's actually quite surprising at the high quality gear you can get for $250-ish and less. And in some cases, significantly less. Originally, I was going to do a top 10 countdown list from the worst to the best, but all of these are really good or else they wouldn't be on the list, so I thought that wasn't fair. So I decided it's going to be more or less random. Some of the things from similar brands are going to be grouped together. Unfortunately, nothing from ASM because they don't have anything under $250, but hey, maybe you could get a used Hydrasynth desktop for $250. Doubtful, but it's never say never. If you can, then hey, that's the gift you want, Hydrasynth. Fantastic synth, and if you don't have one, you should get one. If you do have one, you know why. Love my Hydrasynth. Now, some of these are synthesizers, some of them are accessories. Let's go through that list and see what we got. The first one is a Donner Circle Looper, and I know this is a good product because I obviously have one. Actually, it's not mine, it's my wife's. She uses it for performing, and it is actually a really decent looper, and it's from a relatively new brand called Donner. That is pumping out really high quality synthesizer and music stuff. I don't know much about Donner. I know that their stuff, I mean, this looper pedal is probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 years old, still works like new. It's a metal case, and it is a stereo looper pedal. So many of the looper pedals you get for guitars and so on are not stereo. This one is stereo. You have a 2-channel input. So if you want to use it on a stereo synth like a Montage, you can. Obviously, you're not going to use it on a Montage, maybe a Summit. So you could plug the Summit into there and the output over here, and now you can loop it. It has a built-in metronome that you can use with a bunch of different metronome sounds. It also has a built-in drum machine with, I think, 100, 110 different drum loops that you can play. So if you're actually accompanying yourself, you could put your little drum loop on there and you have a tap tempo, so you can set the tempo just by tapping on there. It is fully digital. It is a 24-bit 44.1 digital AD and DA, so very, very high quality sound. It has 40 memory slots, so if you start looping something and it works and you want to keep that, you can save that and it will retain it in memory. Next time you turn it on, that loop is still recorded there, and you have up to 40 slots that you can record up to 4 minutes in each slot. So there's a lot of storage inside this thing. Works really well. $109 for this amazing looper. It just a steal. Like everything I showed today, I will put a link to this in the description below so that if you are interested in purchasing one of these, you can click on that link, and it is an affiliate link. It makes us a couple pennies if you click it. Really appreciate it if you do that. The next one is one that I did have. I actually did a review on this already. It is the Sonicake Effects Pedal. Another unknown brand, came from Amazon. I did a review on this, and you can see that in this video up here. I actually donated and gifted this to a friend of mine who is a guitar teacher, and he uses it a ton. This is a DSP stereo effects pedal with 130 different effects in it. Has foot switches, it has an expression pedal built into it, high quality DSP effects. And when I say effects, it can do chorus and phaser and delay and reverb and all that kind of stuff, but it also can model, because it's DSP, you can model cabinets. You want to have your guitar sound like it's being overdriven into a Marshall stack, it's got that in there. So you can do a lot with it. You can have a quiet stage using just this pedal. So if you want the sound of a cabinet for your guitar, but you don't want to haul a cabinet around, plug your guitar into this and that goes straight into your soundboard and now you've got that sound. It too has a built-in looper and a drum machine. It has a built-in guitar tuner, has a little LCD color screen, and it has software. You can chain up to 9 different effects, and you can do that on the screen, but the software that it comes with makes it so much easier so you can edit all your presets ahead of time and get your effects chain set up. Now I'm talking about guitars here, but this is just as good for synthesizers. Again, it's stereo in, stereo out. So if you are using a stereo synth like a Summit, you could put it on that. If in the demonstration video I did, I used it on the SH-101, which has no effects whatsoever, so I was able to add all kinds of reverb and delay and all kinds of stuff to the SH-101 to give it depth and feel that it doesn't have naturally. And the price for this amazing storehouse, this powerhouse of digital effects, is $129. Once again, link is down below. Several Christmases ago, my wife got me this, which is the Korg NTS-1. There is now an NTS-1 Mark II that is a bigger, better version of this, has a better key bed on it. It is a kit that you actually build. It comes in parts, you snap the board apart, you connect everything together. It's not hard, it takes like half hour. And you don't need really any real electronic knowledge to do it. It's fairly simple to do. It is a really powerful synthesizer. It has multiple different types of oscillators in there. You can load oscillators in there. So some of the oscillators that people design for the Korg monologue, you can actually load into here and it will actually play that. It has a delay and a reverb and other effects. You can actually design your own effects and put it in there. Now I'm talking about the Mark II here. The Mark II does have more oscillator types than the Mark I, and it has an audio in, a stereo audio in. So you can use this as an effects box because it has these delay and reverb and phaser and chorus and all that stuff, really, really high quality digital effects. You can actually use this as an effects box. You just plug in the input audio in from a synthesizer, again, stereo, and run it through the internal effects chain that you set up inside this, and then the output goes to wherever. And you can add high quality, really high quality digital effects to pretty much anything just by running it through this. It also has a MIDI jack, so you can plug in MIDI to this because you aren't going to want to play on this little thing. But you can simply have this plugged into a mixer or your audio interface, plug MIDI in, and have the MIDI go to another controller and play this little synthesizer, and it is a great sounding synthesizer. The Mark II, $169. Again, link down below. In the same vein from Korg is the NTS-3 Kaoss pad. This is another thing, just like the NTS-1, it's a kit that it comes in parts and you snap it together. They even give you the tools to do it. This is purely an effects unit and you have up to 4 effects. You can layer them, mix between them, chain them, make in a serial, and then you can change between them as well as the parameters on them with a touchpad, just like a touchpad on a laptop. And so by dragging your finger around, you can alter the modulation of those effects and just create chaos, which is where the name Kaoss pad comes from. If you have a synth like, say, an SH-101 that doesn't have effects, this is a really great way of adding cool sounding, modulated effects that give motion and depth to your sound, and for $169. Again, link down below. Over to Roland. This is a steal. I really like this one. In fact, I may end up, no, I don't. I don't need this. But a few years ago, I definitely would have bought one of these. This is the AIRA TR8 drum machine. As part of the AIRA line, this comes with an ACB engine, which is the same as in the System A here, analog circuit behavior modeling of a TR-808, the TR-909, and the TR-606 drum machines, classic drum machines from Roland. These are not samples of the originals, these are models of the originals, so you can tweak the sound in just the ways you could with the original devices. It has 64 patterns that you can store in it. Each of those patterns can be 32 steps long, and it is a typical Roland TR Rec sequencer, so if you've ever used a Roland sequencer before, you know how to use this. As an added bonus, it has a bassline engine from the TB303. That means you can add like acid bassline to your sound on top of the drum machine. Totally cool little drum machine. You can, as MIDI, you can sync it to a DAW, you can sync it to any other synth, or you can have it generate MIDI clocks so your synth arpeggiator will sync to it. Really cool little drum machine for only $205. Next, another one from Roland, another AIRA. This is the Compact E4 Voice and a voice, so what do they call it, tweaker? Voice tweaker. This is basically a vocoder, but it does a lot more. You can use it to create harmony. So if you sing into it, you can have it harmonize on multiple different pitches along with you. You can do pitch correction. So if you tell it, I want to be singing in the key of G major, it will then allow you to sing only notes that are in the G major scale, so that if you are not the greatest singer, it will help you attain those notes accurately. Or you can turn that correction way up and get that kind of Cher auto-tune sound. It also has a vocoder built into it and a looper. So if you need another looper, this is great. You can set up a looper, sing to it, maybe sing a background with a harmony, and then you can sing over top of it. So it's a versatile little device. Really like this one, $180. Can't go wrong for $180. Another Roland AIRA, this is the Chord synth, and I thought this one was kind of weird, J6 Chord synth. It also has an ACB engine, the analog circuit behavior engine, the same as in the Roland System 8. Analog circuit behavior means that they've actually modeled the physical circuitry inside the synthesizer, so what comes out is very much like the original. And this one emulates the Juno 60, so you're going to get those lush pads and chords coming out of this thing, sounding like one of those analog Juno 60s from the 80s. This has 100 different chord sets, and when I say chord set, it means that each button plays a different chord, and those chords are related to one another. So you don't have to have the music theory. You can say, okay, I want chord set 56 of 100, which is a preset 56. It's going to give you some chords that are going to work together. So you might have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chord, and maybe you have some dominant, some seventh chords and so on. But by changing what buttons you're pressing, you can change the chord progression between them, and you have that lush Juno 60 producing the sounds behind you. And it's a really great way of just coming up with songs and without having to really sit down and think about, oh, what's my chord progression going to be? Just, hey, well, here's a set of chords that work together. Now you can just pick between them, figure out what it is that you want, and create a song from that. It does have arpeggiators and rhythm patterns that you can add into it. And it has a sequencer in there as well, 64-step sequencer, and you can store up to 64 sequences in it. Again, another great one from Roland, $205. The last Roland one is the Tweak Synth S1. This is a tiny little digital emulation, ACB, again, of Roland's classic SH-101, which I have sitting right over there. I've done many videos on the SH-101. A used 40-year-old SH-101 is going to set you back over $2,000. This you can have for $205. The main differences between this and the SH-101 is that the original SH-101 is monophonic. You get one note at a time. This is actually 4-note polyphonic, so you can play chords on this, or you could put them all in unison and get the fat sound. I can't even imagine what that sounds like. 4 SH-101s playing at the same time. You're going to get some amazing fat sounds out of this. This also allows you to modify the oscillators themselves. So on the SH-101 you have your sawtooth and your square and so on. But this one you can actually draw your own oscillators or design your own oscillators to come up with sounds that the SH-101 could never even dream of creating. Again, $205. Link in the description below. Next in the list, Korg Volca Sample 2 digital sampler. I would have died and gone to heaven for one of these back in the day. My very first keyboard was, actually no, the very first keyboard was a Korg Poly 6, but my second keyboard was an Ensoniq Mirage, and it was pretty limited as a sampler. This tiny little thing just blows that away. This has a very familiar layout because it looks just like a Korg Volca, but instead of a synthesizer, this is a sampler. It has 8 voice polyphony. You can play up to 8 different notes at a time. You don't have to play it on the little keyboard. You can plug in MIDI into it and play it from a controller. And this includes digital effects, so you have reverbs and filters and things on it so that you can add to this. It's not just dry samples playing back. You can actually do musical things with it. It does have some pretty complex sequencing, and you can also include motion sequencing. So if you want to have a sequence where it's actually opening a filter and closing a filter or modulating some other effect and that sort of thing, you can actually include that as part of the sampler. And it does come with a custom sample set. You're free to keep those or overwrite them or do what you like with it. The best thing of the Korg Volca Sample 2 is the price, $149. absolute steal for a great little sampler. You can sample, edit, play, everything my Ensoniq Mirage could do and 10 times more. Next on the list, the Donner B1 bass synthesizer. Again from Donner, this is that new brand that is not really well established, but they are pumping out some new stuff. This is an emulation of a Roland TB303, which is the classic acid bass synthesizer with a squelchy resonant filter on it. It does have a step sequencer in it, and it has analog saturation built into it, which the 303 did not. So you can really saturate that sound, and because it's analog, it overdrives it in a gentle way that just bites through the mix. It does have a digital step sequencer as well. Once again, super cheap, $129 for this thing, just a steal. Link below. All right, here's one of the higher priced ones, the Behringer Solina string. I really like one of these, and I'm really trying to resist buying one. And the main reason is because I don't have anything here that can really do what a Solina string can. A Solina string, you would know the sound right away. It's the sound of all those soft rock strings that you heard in the 1970s. And the Solina string is a little bit different in the way it creates sound because it has one oscillator, and then it divides down that oscillator to each individual key. So in actuality, you have total polyphony. It's not limited to 8 notes at a time. You technically, literally can press every key. Well, it doesn't have any keys, but you can have it play every single note it's capable of playing at the same time because every single one has its own oscillator, each key. That's how the original worked, and that's how Behringer designed the Solina string as well. The controls, everything are the same as on the original, and the sound, which is the most important thing, is just like the original. I've never heard a sampler that can do the sound of a Solina string well. It just doesn't work, and they end up looping it, and you can hear the loops, and it doesn't work properly. You really need a fully analog Solina string, which is going to set you back thousands, or you can buy this Behringer, which is fully analog, and it sounds just like the real thing. It does have CV and MIDI because obviously there's no key bed, so you can trigger it via CV or MIDI, and it has a MIDI port you can plug right into it. CV also allows you to trigger modulation, adjust modulation. This is $259, $9 over my $250 limit, but this thing is just so good, I could not include it. So this is definitely on my list for Christmas. Next on the list is one that I do have, is the Behringer Model D. This is the rack mount, I've got it sitting right over there, is a rack mount or a module version of the classic Mini Moog. The layout is the same, the controls are the same, the sound is the same, the tuning instability is the same. Yeah, it's not great. Once it warms up, the tuning kind of goes wonky, you continually have to change it, but hey, that's exactly how the Moog worked, so I guess it's accurate to the original. It is fully analog, of course, it has MIDI input, and you can also use it in CV gate. If you have modular, you can plug it into that, or if you have something like a Hydrasynth that has a CV gate output, you can hook it up to that. It sounds exactly like the Mini Moog. You can spend thousands and thousands and buy an original Mini Moog from the 1970s, or you can spend $229 and buy a Behringer Model D. It works great. I've used it on a ton of stuff. The low-end bass, I use it all the time. Absolutely love it for low-end bass. Another Behringer clone. This time they are cloning the Prophet VS. This is the Behringer Pro VS. This is a 4-voice hybrid digital synthesizer, and I say 4-voice and it's a vector synth, which means it has a little joystick. So each of the 4 voices has 4 oscillators, and each of those oscillators can be doing something different, and then you can modulate between them using the joystick or through a modulation envelope or any other way of doing that. So you can have a sound that evolves, it's not static, and it's not just envelope or filters. You could be changing from one type of oscillator to another, just crazy evolving sounds. It is a hybrid synth, so the oscillator side is entirely digital, the filter side is entirely analog. It has a sequencer, an arpeggiator, and the oscillators themselves are capable of running wavetables. So you aren't just limited to what's in there. If you want to put some wavetables in there, you can actually play oscillators from pretty much anything you can come up with in your head. This came out a few years ago, and Behringer has relentlessly released firmware updates for it over and over and over again that keep adding more and more new features, which is just great to see the support for them. There is a third-party software editor available for this device, and it is kind of tiny. It's only about this big, so you don't want to play on the keys, and it's kind of hard to edit with the little knobs. So the software editor I would consider a must. I don't know how much it costs. It's not expensive, but it allows you to edit everything in the synthesizer on screen, and better yet, you can embed it in your DAW as a VST or other plugin so that you can actually operate and modulate this Behringer Pro VS from within your DAW. That's just fantastic. The Behringer Pro VS synthesizer is a paltry $99. Why wouldn't you buy one of these? Great. All right, the last one on my list. This is a product from a company that I have done lots of videos on, and I'm a huge fan of theirs, Liquid Stands. They build just bulletproof, just bomb-proof keyboard stands. I've got several of their stands in my studio here now, and they just keep building more and more stuff. I've done several videos on these stands. There's too many to stick up on the screen here, so I will put a list of them down below, and you can go through all the reviews I've done of all their different stands. They have multi-tier stands. They have stands with wheels on them. They have portable stands. They've got piano benches. They've got this pedal mat that I just did a review on. They've got electric piano stands. They've got monitor stands you can clamp onto pretty much anything. Another stand on your desktop. You put speakers on it. You can put a laptop on it. They've got so much good stuff, and all of their stuff is really, really strong. Stronger than Onstage, stronger than pretty much every other brand that I've tried, and it's inexpensive. All the stands that I have featured from them on my channel here are between $80 and $140. $140 for a bulletproof stand. I mean, I literally was lifting myself up on one of their stand, on their portable stand, which I've got sitting over in the corner here. You could sit on it. It will hold hundreds of pounds, rock solid. So if you have an expensive synthesizer and you want to trust it to a wobbly little piece of crap X stand, don't. Throw those X stands away. Get yourself a Liquid stand. That's what you want. Liquid stands, I can't say enough about them. For Liquid stands, a little bit different. I have a special link with Liquid stands that goes directly to the Liquid stands store in their website. And if you use my special link in the description below, you get a special discount. They allowed me to have that link that gives a discount to everybody that watches my videos. So if you're gonna buy one of these stands, hey, send this link off to your spouse and say, hey, use this link to buy me my surprise gift. And that's it. That's my list of synth gifts for Synth Geeks 2024. What did I miss out? Are there any ones that you think of that I should have added? If you have any questions, suggestions, or corrections, leave them in the comment section below. And hey, if you like this video and you want to see more like it, click like, subscribe to the channel. You get notified every time I post a new one of these videos. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, depending where in the world you are, and thanks for watching.